Rain-slick street. A small hooded girl sprints into view, clutching a backpack like her life depends on it. 4 men in dark suits block the road. One reaches inside his jacket. A gloved hand grabs her from behind, yanks her into a black van. The door slams, tires scream in the wet. A voice shouts through the storm. "Carter, on me!" Rain came down in blades, hard, slanted, cold enough to burn. Alex Carter angled his hood and pushed through the weather with the stubborn gait of a man who'd learned to move even when moving hurt. He was thinking about 2 things: the price of milk and the text from the school counselor about Ethan's reluctance to engage. He had no room for anything else. Then the scream knifed through the storm. He didn't speed up. He cut left, instincts older than law, older than reason. The alley was a slice of shadow between a pawn shop and a shuttered laundromat. Brick slick with runoff, dumpsters looming like hulks in a black sea. 3 shapes, 1 small, cornered, 2 taller, circling. "Give it back." The small one snapped, voice steady in that way that always made grown men underestimate a child. 12, maybe 13. Dark hoodie soaked to the skull, chin tipped up like a fighter facing a crowd. "Relax," the tallest boy said, swinging a backpack by one strap. "We're educating you." "About what?" She shot back, and there was the edge. Too sharp for a kid. "Entropy?" The shorter boy laughed and shoved her shoulder, and Alex's body made the decision his mind didn't need to. He stepped in, palm up, voice even. "Hands off. Now." The taller boy sized him up with that cocky, hungry look kids get when they think men are tired. "Walk away, old man." Alex's face didn't change. "2 steps back," he said, and the tone did the rest. The one with the backpack obeyed without knowing why. The shove came anyway, lazy and sideways. Alex caught the wrist, rotated, let gravity and stupidity introduce each other. The boy hit the wet ground with a grunt. The backpack skidded. The girl lunged, snatched it, retreated to Alex's shadow like she'd known it was there all along. "Run home," the standing boy threatened, but his voice rang hollow now. "Run anywhere," Alex said, "and I'll still be here." It ended the way street fights end when a real fight is present. With a curse and a retreat disguised as swagger. Footsteps faded. Rain stayed. Alex turned. Up close she was all sharp lines and stubbornness. Eyes like wet obsidian, breathing too fast but refusing to show it. "You hurt?" he asked. "No, a beat. Little bruised pride. Not mine." The corner of her mouth twitched like a muscle deciding it might remember how to smile. He handed over the backpack. "You pick smart fights, smarter than they were." She pulled the zipper to check inside, then hugged the bag to her ribs like it contained something that mattered. Not a math book, not the way she held it. "Where do you live?" he asked. She hesitated. Rain drummed on plastic lids on metal and bone. Not far, not specific. She studied him as if searching for insignia he wasn't wearing. "Why'd you help me?" "Because it needed doing," he said. Because there'd been a time no one had stepped in for a boy named Alex, and he'd decided if he ever had hands strong enough, he'd use them. "Okay," she said softly, as if filing that answer somewhere serious. "Thanks." She shouldered the pack and moved toward the street, but paused. "You limp." He huffed a breath that could have been a laugh. Whether reports come free with the lecture, just saying. Her gaze flicked past him, quick and skittish, the way prey learns to keep the whole map in mind. "Don't follow me." He didn't. He stood in the rain until the alley was empty, and his heart slowed back to something livable. Then he bought the milk, texted Ethan that he'd be home in 10, and told himself he'd let it go. He didn't. He slept on the couch again. Not from lack of beds, there were 2, but because the couch let him hear the door if Ethan decided to sneak out, or the world decided to come in. At 6:02 a.m., a knock broke the small quiet. Not neighbor knock, not collector knock. Measured. 3 beats. Pause. 2. He eased up. The ache in his knee, a suggestion and not a command, and opened the door on a woman in a dark coat, hair pulled into a knot that didn't ask permission. Behind her, a black SUV idled, 2 men inside scanning the block with those neutral faces government people practice. "Mr. Carter?" Her voice was low, precise, the kind that carried inside a whisper. "Depends who's asking," he said. And the old part of his brain, that filing cabinet of voices and faces from other continents, rattled its drawers. He had known a voice like this once, in a place that smelled like dust and cordite and heat. But that voice would not be on his porch in a coat that shed rain like a slate roof. Lena Hart, she said. The name landed in him with the weight of a decade. I'm with Army Sid, a flash of a badge. Not long enough to memorize numbers. Long enough to show she'd planned the rhythm of it. Alex did not reach for the door jamb, because men like him did not need to hold themselves up. He kept his face steady and filed away the tremor in his chest for later. Lena Hart had died 7 years ago, in a compound 3 turns off a road no one admitted existed. He had read the report. He had folded the flag. You're early for sales calls, he said, because words were a place to stand. Not selling, she said. Looking for a little girl you pulled out of an alley last night. She glanced past him, not rudely. Is your son home, sleeping? Her eyes returned to his, and for the first time he saw something hairline and human there, a fracture line beneath the ice. The girl's name is Sarah Mason. He found the name before she finished it. Mason, the 4-star, the boogeyman of budget meetings and midnight briefings, the commander who never raised his voice because Steele didn't need to. Alex felt the porch feel suddenly smaller. She told you that? He asked. She told no one anything, Lena said. Which is why I'm here. She ran from a protected residence 48 hours ago. If she trusts you even a little, Mr. Carter, you may be the one person she'll run to again. He let the rain talk between them. Why run from a house with 10 guns on the roof? Why do boys push a girl into an alley when there are cameras on both ends? She countered. Because people believe they're untouchable. Until they're not. He studied her. Same posture he remembered. Weight slightly forward, ready to fight or flee, but pretending neither option interested her. Same eyes, storm dark, assessing and unapologetic. The scar under her jaw hadn't been there in his memory. He wanted to ask where she'd earned it. He wanted not to want anything. Why do you care? He asked. Because she's a child, Lena said. The words were simple, but not performative. Then, as if tacking on a secondary objective, and because if Sarah Mason falls into the hands of the people who grabbed at her last night, more than one career ends with a courtroom and a flag draped the wrong way. You think those were random punks? I think they were the first layer. She shifted, water ticking from her sleeve. I think you scared the wrong hornet nest. Ethan's sneaker squeaked behind him. Dad, it's fine, Alex said without looking away from Lena. Go brush your teeth, bud. Ethan? 13 and trying to make his voice fit a body it was still measuring, peeked around Alex's shoulder. He saw Lena, took her in. Did that quick mental calculation kids of single parents do when strangers show up? He nodded at his father like a soldier receiving an order and padded away. Okay, Alex said. If she comes, I'll call. No, Lena said. And there was the first spark. Flint against his stubbornness. If she comes, you'll move. We cannot protect you in your living room. He let the word carry everything he didn't ask. She exhaled and it fogged in the cold. I didn't come alone, I noticed. A beat of silence, then she tilted her head almost rueful. You're angry I let you think I'd died. I'm busy being surprised you didn't, he said. His mouth wanted to soften it with a memory. Something stupid and sweet, like the way she tilted her weapon to catch the desert dust in the barrel light. But he held the line. The girl. Lena reached into her coat, slow enough to show she'd come to talk, not to take. She held out a photo in a plastic sleeve. Sarah, head down, hair slicked to her skull by rain, clutching that backpack. If she contacts you, you'll take her to this address. She slid a card across his threshold, just shy of stepping in. Not a base, a private office. Safer, whose or mine, she said. And a shadow of heat ghosted through the cold. Not flirtation, familiarity that had nowhere to sit. They stood there, two people who'd known each other in a country neither could name, and were now pretending his porch was just wood and not an old airfield. Okay, Alex said finally, but if you're lying. I don't have the time, she said. and something in her tone told him she meant her life, not her watch. A car door slammed down the block, too heavy for a neighbor's sedan. Lena's attention snapped toward the sound in a way that made Alex's muscles answer. The SUV behind her came alert as if it were a living thing. A second car nose dived to a stop across the street, blocking the lane. Another black SUV, windows ghosted, engine arrogant. The doors opened in choreographed unison. 4 men stepped out in plain dark suits that didn't belong to the weather. The lead one lifted a hand to the inside of his jacket. Casual, courteous, a man about to show ID or a gun. "Alex," Lena said. "Low. Inside now." The lead man smiled without the upper half of his face. "Mr. Carter," he said, rain slicking his perfect hair. "General Mason requests your immediate assistance." "Funny," Lena said, already angling her body to give him margin, "because I just requested it." The man's gaze flicked to her, and whatever he saw, it didn't read like law. "Agent Hart," he said, polite and wrong. "You're outside your lane." Alex felt the air tip. "Who are you with?" he asked. "Protection detail," the man said. "We're here for the girl." Alex didn't have a tell, but his heartbeat did. "What girl?" The man's smile sharpened. "The one who's about to turn the corner," as if cued by the line. Quick footsteps slapped water at the mouth of the block. Alex's head snapped that way. A small figure sprinted into view, hood up, backpack clamped to her chest. Sarah. She saw the men, stuttered, then locked on Alex like he was a lighthouse and she was tired of swimming. "Don't," Lena said under her breath, a warning and a plea. Sarah bolted for the porch. The nearest protection agent reached inside his jacket. Lena's hand moved at the same time, coat flaring, eyes gone winter cold. A voice boomed from the second SUV, deep and smooth, amplified by a man who never needed to shout. "Stand down." Every head turned. A figure stepped out in a dark coat with stars on his collar that didn't need light to be seen. General Mason. His gaze found Alex with the force of a hand. It slid to Lena, registered, resheathed itself in etiquette. Then it cut to Sarah, and for one raw heartbeat, the steel fractured. A father flickered through the general. "Sarah," he said, and the rain went quiet in Alex's ears. She froze on the bottom step, soaked and shaking, chin set the way it had been in the alley. Her eyes were not a child's in that moment. They were a ledger. "Come here," Mason said, palm open. She took one step up. Lena's fingers tightened around the edge of Alex's door. Small, private pressure, like a memory laid across a wound. "Alex," she murmured. Barely sound. "Look at his left sleeve," he did. A pin, not regulation, not decoration. A tiny triangle of enamel with a symbol he hadn't seen since a night in the desert when a convoy didn't arrive, and a whole town woke to gunshots. His mouth dried. "You're sure?" "I don't guess about ghosts," Lena said. Sarah lifted her foot to the next step, eyes on the man who wore her name like rank. A second SUV turned the corner fast. Tires hissing, no lights, no plates. Its rear door slid open before it stopped. A gloved hand reached out, fast as a thought, and snatched Sarah by the backpack. Alex moved. Lena moved. Mason's men moved. The backpack strap tore with a sound like fabric surrendering. Sarah was yanked sideways into the open maw of the van. The door slammed. The van blasted backward, fishtailed, and shot into the rain. Alex hit the street running. Behind him, Lena's voice knifed through the storm, clear, furious, alive. "Carter, on me!" And from the porch step, General Mason didn't shout, didn't chase. He lifted his phone, thumbed a number, and said into the rain with perfect calm, "Initiate protocol black." The streetlights died. Everything went dark. Alex's eyes adjusted faster than most. Years of bad nights in worse places had trained them. He caught the ghost of the van's taillights swerving around the corner, swallowed almost immediately by shadow. "Left," Lena's voice cut sharp. He didn't question. His boots splashed into the street as he ran, every muscle in his bad knees screaming but not slowing him. Behind, the SUVs barked orders in the dark, men shouting over each other, tires skidding against wet asphalt. Lena caught up in 2 strides, matching his pace, her breath steady despite the limp he'd seen when she walked up his porch. In the dim spill from a backup generator somewhere down the block, he saw her jaw, set, focused, the same as it had been when they were pinned down in that mud-walled compound years ago. "You always pick the fun assignments?" he asked between breaths. She shot him a sidelong look. "You always run this slow even now." In the black and the wet it hit him. How easy it was for her to slip under his guard with just a line. He hated that he noticed. The sound of the van's engine faded, then rose again from a different street, doubling back. "They're circling," Lena said. "They've got more than one route," Alex replied. "And they're not scared of Mason's men. Means they're not working for him," she said. And there was something in her tone, relief maybe, or the opposite. A sudden flare lit the block, a flashlight beam cutting across the wet brick to their right. Two silhouettes stepped out from a side alley, rifles up. Lena's hand brushed his arm, light, deliberate as she slowed her run. "Cover," she murmured. They slid behind a row of recycling bins. Water dripped steadily from a broken gutter above, masking their movement. The two gunmen swept their lights past, their footfalls careful, trained. Not punks, not cops. Lena leaned close enough for him to feel her breath warm against his ear. "Two-man sweep. They're bait. You got a better way through." She glanced over her shoulder, gauging the alley's length. "Fire escape, third building. You lift me, I'll pull you up. You're assuming I trust you," he said. But he was already crouching. She stepped into his locked hands, boots planting solidly. And he boosted her up. Even in the wet, she moved like she'd been born climbing walls. Her hand came down a moment later, strong and sure. "Your turn." As he climbed, her grip closed around his wrist, fingers tightening just enough for him to feel the heat under the calluses. "Still strong," she murmured. "Still stubborn," he shot back. They hauled themselves onto the fire escape, just as one of the flashlights below swung in their direction. A voice barked, foreign-accented and urgent. Alex and Lena were already moving, the metal stairs rattling under their boots. They cut across the rooftop. The city spread below in a patchwork of faint light and deep black. From this height, they saw it, the van idling under the skeletal frame of an unfinished parking structure. One figure dragged Sarah toward a stairwell. 2 minutes, Lena said. They reached the far edge of the roof, 10 feet to the next building, and then it was a straight drop into the lot. Lena peered over the edge. "You first. That knee won't forgive you if you land cold." He looked at her, the rain in her lashes, the steady set of her mouth. "I'll manage. I know you will," she said quietly. "That's the problem." Before he could ask, she vaulted the gap, fluid, fearless, and for a moment the same woman he remembered under desert stars. He followed, landed hard, rolled with it. By the time they hit the ground level, Sarah's captor was halfway to the van. Alex's hand closed around Lena's arm, pulling her back against the wall just before 2 more armed men stepped into view from the other side of the structure. "More than one team," he whispered. Her voice was so low, he almost missed it. "And I know the one on the left." Alex looked at her. "How?" She didn't take her eyes off the man. "Because I trained him." The man turned his head slightly, just enough for the light to catch his face. Alex recognized him too. It was the soldier who'd saved his life in Fallujah, and he was pointing a rifle straight at Lena. The rifle stayed locked on Lena, the rain beading and rolling down the matte black barrel. The man's face hadn't changed much since Fallujah. Still the squared jaw, the eyes that could strip a man down to bone in a glance. But the look behind them was different. "Carter," he said, voice low, like they were back behind sandbags in a firefight. "You're in the wrong place." Alex shifted his stance, putting himself just off Lena's shoulder, a half step between her and the muzzle. "You aiming at her, you're aiming at me." The man's gaze flicked between them and something unreadable crossed his face. "She's not who you think she is." Lena didn't flinch. "Neither are you, Corporal." For a second, the rain filled the silence, pattering on steel and asphalt. Then he lowered the rifle slightly. Not in surrender, but in decision. "They'll be on you in 30 seconds. Get the kid out, Carter." "After that, we're square." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Why warn us?" "Because," the man said, almost under his breath, "you're still the guy who dragged me out of that alley with half a lung. And then he stepped back into the shadows, vanishing like he'd never been there. Lena grabbed Alex's sleeve. "We move, now." They slipped around the parking structure, staying in the blind spot between columns. The van's side door was still open. Sarah was inside, struggling against zip ties at her wrists, eyes darting like a cornered animal. Lena motioned for Alex to cover. She slid in low, smooth as water, her knife flashing once, twice, zip ties falling away. Sarah bolted straight into Alex's arms. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head, but her breathing was ragged. "They said Mason's coming." Alex's gut tightened. "Then we're not sticking around." Lena climbed into the driver's seat without a word. Alex shoved the side door closed and jumped in after Sarah, keeping low. The van roared to life, tires spinning on wet pavement. They shot out of the lot, the city blurring past in streaks of dim light and shadow. Sarah hugged her knees, still shaking. They weren't the same men from last night. Lena's eyes flicked to the rear view. Different unit, different mission. Alex watched her profile, the way she kept her focus pinned on the road, but her grip on the wheel was just a fraction too tight. "You knew one of them," he said. She didn't answer right away. "I trained him, yes. Years ago, thought he was clean. And now," her mouth tightened, "now I'm not sure what he is." The van jolted hard as Lena swerved to avoid a dark sedan cutting across the intersection ahead. Headlights flared, two more sedans pulling in behind. Sarah's voice cracked. "They're boxing us in." Alex reached for the dash. "You still run evasive driving?" Lena's eyes met his in the mirror. Just for a beat, the kind of look that felt like more than survival. Always, she dropped the van into a hard left, clipping the rear bumper of one sedan and spinning it into the other. Metal screamed, glass shattered. They tore down a side street, and then Alex saw them. Floodlights. A barricade. 4 black SUVs lined nose to nose. Lena braked just short of impact, the van skidding sideways. Men spilled out from the blockade. The one in front stepped forward unhurried, his coat billowing in the wind. General Mason, and in his hand was a pistol. Pointed at Alex. Rain hissed against the van's roof, masking the small, deliberate click as Mason thumbed back the pistol's hammer. Alex pushed Sarah slightly behind his shoulder without looking away from the man in front of them. "You point that at me, General," Alex said evenly. "You better mean to use it." Mason's expression didn't shift. "I'm not here for you, Carter. I'm here for my daughter." Lena leaned over the wheel, voice cutting. "You don't point a gun at a man when you're telling him you're not the target." Mason's gaze flicked to her. A muscle ticked in his jaw. "Agent Hart, I see you've kept your talent for interfering in my business." "Your business," Lena said, "involves men in plain clothes trying to drag a 12-year-old into a van. That's not security, that's a snatch and grab." Mason's eyes narrowed, dangerous but still calm. "Sarah," he called, not raising his voice, "get out of the van." "No," Sarah pressed closer to Alex. "No." Mason didn't break stride as he holstered the pistol and walked forward, boots splashing. "I'm giving you one chance to walk away from this, Carter. Leave her with me, and I'll pretend tonight didn't happen." Alex opened the side door slowly, stepping out into the rain. "Pretend." Mason's gaze locked on his. "You've been out of the service long enough to know how this works. You've got a son, a quiet life. Keep it that way." Alex took one step closer. "And if I don't?" From the corner of his eye, he caught Lena shifting, her hand resting near her holster, her stance loose but red. She didn't speak, but the air between them was charged, like the silent agreement they'd made 100 times in another lifetime. "If one moves, we both move." Mason's voice softened, almost paternal. "You think you can protect her from what's coming? You have no idea how deep this goes." Alex tilted his head. "Then tell me." Mason actually smiled, small and cold. "Not out here." He glanced past Alex to Lena. "And not with her in the room." "That's not happening," Alex said. Mason sighed like a man indulging a child. He stepped back, raising a hand. Behind him, the SUV's doors opened, and from one of them, a figure stepped out holding a weapon low at his side. Alex froze. He knew that silhouette. Marcus, his brother's smirk was visible even through the rain. "Miss me, Alex." The rain slicked Marcus's hair to his forehead, but his grin was the same one Alex remembered from before everything went sideways. Half charm, half threat. "You're supposed to be in prison," Alex said, his voice carrying over the hiss of water on asphalt. Marcus shrugged, stepping into the halo of a floodlight. Good behavior, and good friends in high places. His eyes slid to Mason. Lena eased out of the van, her hand still close to her sidearm. "He's your brother?" Alex didn't look at her, but his jaw flexed. "Was as," Marcus chuckled. "Still is. DNA doesn't vanish, brother. But loyalty." He tapped his temple. "That's optional." Sarah peered over the van's seat, voice tight. "He's with him." Mason spoke for the first time since Marcus appeared. "He works for me." "Which means, Carter, that if you insist on making this difficult, you'll be standing against your own blood." Alex took a step forward and Lena matched it without even glancing at him. Their movements unconsciously in sync. "You think blood buys you anything with me?" Alex said. Marcus made his choices. Marcus's grin thinned. "You think you know my choices? You never asked why I took that job in Karachi. Why I didn't come back after the op went bad." Alex's voice was like gravel. "Because you sold out your own team." Something flickered in Marcus's expression. Guilt, or anger, or both. "You only know what they told you." He jerked his chin toward Mason. "Maybe ask your new friend here how many teams he's burned." Lena's gaze flicked between them, sharp and assessing. She was watching Marcus, but her voice was pitched to Alex. "We're out of time." As if to underline it, one of Mason's men spoke into his radio, then started forward toward the van. Alex stepped sideways, blocking his path. "She's not going with you." Mason's tone stayed maddeningly calm. "You can't keep her safe, Carter, and if you try, you'll die with her." Alex didn't blink. Then we start running. For the first time, Mason's mask slipped, just enough for a flash of irritation. He gestured, and two of his men raised their weapons. Lena's fingers brushed Alex's, quick, intentional. "Left side, break through," she murmured, the words barely audible. He gave the smallest nod. Marcus must have seen it because his smirk vanished. "Don't," he said quietly, a warning that almost sounded like care. But then Mason's hand dropped and the night erupted. Floodlights flaring, shouts rising, boots splashing. Lena grabbed Sarah. Alex covered their flank, and the three of them surged toward the narrow gap between two SUVs. Muzzle flashes lit the rain like lightning. They made it halfway before a dark figure stepped into their path, blocking the gap, rifle raised. Alex froze. It was the same soldier who'd saved his life in Fallujah. And this time his rifle wasn't aimed at Lena, it was aimed at Sarah. The rifle's muzzle hovered inches from Sarah's chest. She didn't move, but Alex felt the tremor in her breath. "Put it down," Alex said, his voice steady. The soldier's eyes flicked to him, unreadable in the harsh floodlight. "Orders are orders, Carter." Lena stepped forward, the rain running off her coat. "Then take a better. Let us walk, and you live to see another sunrise." For a long moment, no one breathed. Then, without a word, the soldier shifted the rifle just enough to give them a lane. "Go," he murmured. Alex didn't wait. He grabbed Sarah's wrist, pulling her through the gap, Lena right behind. They hit the far side of the barricade and broke into a sprint. Boots hammering wet pavement. They didn't slow until the noise of the blockade faded into the storm. Under a sagging awning, they stopped to catch their breath. Sarah crouched, head down, arms tight around her knees. Lena kept watch on the mouth of the alley, rain dripping from her lashes. We bought seconds, maybe a minute. Alex studied her profile, still sharp, controlled. He remembered her like this before a breach, before the door went down and chaos poured in. But now there was something in her eyes she didn't have then. A shadow, a weight. "You okay?" he asked. She glanced at him, surprised by the question. "I'm not the one with a target on my back." "That's not what I asked." The corner of her mouth twitched like she might deflect, but instead she exhaled slowly. "It's been a long time since I trusted anyone to watch my six." Alex's pulse kicked at the admission. "You're not the only one." They held each other's gaze for half a beat too long. Rain pattered in the space between them, and for a moment, it wasn't just noise, it was a curtain, cutting them off from the world. Sarah shifted, breaking it. "They'll find us." Lena looked away first, her voice brisk again. "Then we move." Alex helped Sarah up. As he did, Lena's hand brushed his warm grounding. Before she turned toward the alley's far end, it was nothing and it was everything. They followed her out into the dark, but Alex caught the faintest, quickest glance back from her, like she was checking he was still there, or maybe making sure he always would be. They didn't know the sedan had been tailing them since the blockade, and they didn't see the shadow in the driver's seat until the alley's mouth lit with headlights. Marcus. The sedan roared into the mouth of the alley, headlights slicing through the rain like a searchlight. Marcus leaned out the driver's window, rain plastering his hair to his forehead, grin wicked and knowing. "Get in, little brother," he called, voice too casual for the threat underneath. "Or the kid doesn't make it home breathing." Alex stepped in front of Sarah, his stance shifting into something heavier, protective. "You think I'm stepping into a car with you?" Marcus smirked wider. "You will, one way or another." The back doors swung open. Two men climbed out, plain clothes, military posture, the kind that didn't waste movements. Lena's voice was at his ear, low enough to almost be a breath. "Door on the left, 10 feet. I'll take the lead, you sure?" he murmured. Her eyes met his for the briefest second, steady, sharp, and unshakably familiar. "Trust me," he did. Too much. On her signal, they moved. One of Marcus's men lunged at Lena, and Alex stepped in without thinking, catching the man's wrist and yanking him into her stride. She drove her elbow into his ribs with precision, and as he doubled over, her hand landed briefly on Alex's chest, steadying herself, steadying him. It lingered a half-second longer than it needed to. The second man went for Sarah. Alex shoved her behind him, but Lena was already there, pinning the attacker to the wall. She glanced over her shoulder at Alex, hair slick and eyes lit with focus. "Go, I've got him." The door was locked. Lena closed the distance between them in 2 quick steps. "Cover me," she said, not looking up, but her voice softer than it had been all night. He stepped in close, shielding her from the alley. She didn't move away. Metal scraped softly as her pick worked the mechanism. Behind him, the thud of boots drew closer. Alex braced, one hand on the wall beside her head, the other gripping his weapon. For a heartbeat, they were a pocket of stillness in the chaos. Just her bent over the lock, his shadow wrapped over hers, their breathing sinking without meaning to. "Got it," she whispered. The door swung open, and he ushered Sarah through first. As Lena slipped past him, her arm brushed his, warm, solid, and she gave him a quick, almost private look, the kind that said, "I'm glad you're still here." They ran the narrow stairwell 2 steps at a time, her shoulder grazing his every few strides. It wasn't on purpose, but neither of them corrected it. At the top, she raised her hand to halt him. He leaned close to hear her over the rain's drum on the roof. Her lips were just at his ear when she whispered, "Something's wrong." They stepped onto the rooftop, and there, standing by the ledge with the black hard case at his feet, was General Mason. The rain was heavier up here, driven sideways by the wind. It slicked the rooftop into a treacherous sheet of black glass. General Mason stood by the ledge, his coat unmoving despite the gusts, the black hard case at his feet like a prize in some grim game. "Mr. Carter," Mason called, voice carrying over the storm, "you've been busy tonight." Alex shifted, instinctively moving in front of Lena and Sarah. "Seems like you have too." Lena came up alongside him, close enough their shoulders brushed. He didn't step away. She spoke without looking at him. "This is a bad angle. He's blocking our only cover." Alex murmured back, "We move together." That earned him the faintest curve at the corner of her mouth, there and gone in an instant. "I remember you saying that in Kabul," she said. "Yeah," he replied, eyes still on Mason. "And you still didn't listen." The exchange was quiet, almost lost in the wind. But Mason's gaze sharpened, reading more than Alex wanted him to. "This doesn't have to be a fight," Mason said. "Step away from Agent Hart. Step away from my daughter. You both walk away." Alex felt Lena tense beside him. Walk away to what? So you can keep selling out the people who trust you. Mason's eyes flicked to her. Still reckless, Agent. I see Carter hasn't cured you of that. Alex spoke before he could think. She doesn't need curing. The words came out harder than he intended, edged with something protective that had nothing to do with strategy. For just a second, Lena's eyes met his, rain catching in her lashes, something unspoken and bright sparking there. Then Mason's hand shifted toward his coat, and the moment shattered. Two armed men stepped out from the shadows near the rooftop access. Lena pressed against Alex's side, close enough that he could feel her steadying her breathing, lining up their next move. You take the left, she whispered, her lips almost brushing his ear. I'll take the right. He nodded, and his hand, without thinking, found hers for a brief, grounding squeeze. She didn't pull away. When they moved, it was in perfect sync. His shoulder covering her line of fire, her body brushing his as she ducked past to sweep her target. It was all adrenaline and trust, but somewhere in it was something else. The thrill of being exactly where they were meant to be, together. The fight was quick and brutal. Mason didn't flinch as his men went down, but he did nudge the hard case with the toe of his boot, sending it skidding toward the ledge. Choose, Mason said, her or the proof. Lena's hand closed around Alex's forearm, a silent don't. The case teetered on the edge. One more gust of wind from falling 7 stories into the dark, and from behind them came the unmistakable sound of a pistol slide being racked. Marcus's voice. Maybe I'll make that choice for you. The sound of Marcus chambering around was louder than the rain. Alex turned slowly, keeping himself between Lena and his brother. Marcus stood 10 feet away, pistol steady, rain running in thin rivulets down his face. Still trying to be the hero, he said. Some things never change. Some things should, Alex shot back. Marcus's eyes flicked to Lena, then to Sarah. You've got 2 people you care about standing behind you. Can't protect them both. Lena shifted closer, so close that her arm pressed into Alex's, their bodies forming a single line between Sarah and the gun. Her voice was steady but low enough for only him to hear. If he shoots, you take Sarah. I'll handle him. That's not happening, Alex murmured back, jaw tight. Don't argue with me now, she said, and there was a flicker, just for an instant, of something softer in her eyes. You've always been terrible at letting anyone take a hit for you. His voice dropped even lower. Not you. The words weren't tactical. They weren't calculated. And the way she looked at him, like it meant something, nearly stole his breath. Marcus tilted his head. What's this? Something brewing between the soldier and the ghost. Cute. Too bad it ends here. Alex stepped forward, forcing Marcus to adjust his aim. You want the case, you're going to have to shoot through me. From the corner of his vision, Alex saw Mason watching like it was a chess match. He wasn't moving to stop Marcus. If anything, he was waiting to see how it played out. Lena's fingers brushed Alex's, light, quick, then curled into his palm for a heartbeat before slipping away. It was enough. He knew exactly where she'd be when it started. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Always picking the wrong side, little brother. Maybe, Alex said, but at least I can look at myself in the mirror. Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger, and Lena moved. She hooked Alex's arm, yanking him sideways as the shot cracked through the air. They hit the rooftop hard, her body over his, shielding him from the second round. Her breath was warm against his ear. Told you I'd handle it, and then Sarah screamed. The case had gone over the ledge. The scream jolted Alex to his feet. He reached the ledge just in time to see the black case hit a lower rooftop, bounce once, and tumble into the darkness beyond. Marcus cursed, lunging toward the edge, but Mason's voice stopped him cold. Leave it, we have the girl. Alex spun. 2 of Mason's men had closed in, seizing Sarah by the arms. She fought like a cornered wildcat, but she was losing ground. Lena was already moving, limping but fast, eyes locked on the men holding Sarah. Alex fell in beside her without needing a signal. They split at the last moment. Lena sliding low to sweep the legs of the first guard, while Alex drove a shoulder into the second. Sarah broke free, bolting toward the stairwell. Marcus raised his pistol again, but Alex was already in his space, slamming a forearm into his wrist. The gun clattered away. "You always were faster," Marcus hissed. "Not faster," Alex said, shoving him back. "Just fighting for something worth it." Lena appeared at his side, breathing hard, hair plastered to her cheek. For a moment, everything else, Mason shouting orders, Marcus snarling, faded. "You hurt?" Alex asked. "I'll live," she said, but there was a softness in it, a flicker of relief that he was still standing. Her hand found his arm, gripping just a second longer than it had to. "You?" "I'll live," he echoed, and the way they held each other's eyes made it clear that living meant something different now. A crack of gunfire shattered it, the shot punching into the rooftop near their feet. Mason was backing toward the access door, Marcus beside him, retreating but not running. "This isn't over," Mason called. "Next time you won't see me coming." Then they were gone, swallowed by the stairwell. The rain eased to a mist as Alex and Lena turned toward the stairwell Sarah had taken. She was waiting just inside, clutching a flashlight she must have grabbed on the way. "They'll keep coming," Sarah said quietly. "Not if we find the proof first," Lena replied. Alex looked at her. This woman who'd once disappeared from his life like smoke, who'd come back into it with danger in her wake and steel in her eyes, and felt the question rise before he could stop it. What happens when we do? Her lips curved, tired but real. "Then maybe I can stop running." He didn't think about it. He just reached out, brushing a strand of wet hair back from her face. Her breath caught, but she didn't move away. In the thin light, the edges between them blurred, wariness and want, history and possibility. And for the first time all night, the space between them was entirely theirs. She leaned in just enough for him to feel her against him. Not an embrace, not yet, but a promise. "Come on, Carter," she murmured, pulling back with a small, private smile. "Let's go finish this." They stepped into the stairwell together, Sarah between them, and disappeared into the dark, partners again, this time on their own terms. Somewhere below, a phone rang in Mason's hand. Marcus's voice, faint through the rain. "You want me to kill him?" Mason's reply was quiet, certain. "No, I want him to watch."